Babe, get up. New budget bill just dropped. Hey, you don't think the Trump administration's going to do that thing, right, where they harm the working class just to line the pockets of the wealthiest among us? You don't think that, right, babe? Right? What's that? You're also worried it's going to increase the deficit, so you're going to go ask Caroline Levitt about it right now? Well, as always, I look forward to hearing what she has to say.
Just a quick follow-up. Is the president okay with this bill adding to the deficit?
This bill does not add to the deficit. In fact, according to the Council of Economic Advisors, this bill will save $1.6 trillion. And the president absolutely understands and hears the concerns of fiscal conservatives and of Americans who want to get our fiscal house in order. That's what the intention of this bill is. There's $1.6 trillion worth of savings in this bill. That's the largest savings for any legislation that has ever passed Capitol Hill in our nation's history. The next bill that even comes close was $800 billion. That's less than half of the savings that we see in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And so the goal of this bill is to produce economic growth, to cut taxes, and to get our fiscal house in order. And this is the right step in the right direction towards doing that.
Why is she so mad all the time? Okay, yeah, quick fact check. So according to the CBO, this new bill will add $4.6 trillion to the deficit. But what even are numbers, you know? They're just a lie from big math. And the good news is a lot of these politicians that are pushing this bill forward will actually be dead in 10 years. So we have that going for us. Not Caroline Levitt, obviously. She'll be on Mars, kicking it with Elon Musk and snacking on freeze-dried grudges. But if you thought it was just these pink-haired social justice warriors over at the Congressional Budget Office, you would be wrong. Here's audio from Senator Johnson saying, yeah, if you look at the numbers, this doesn't really add up, and we are going to have to cut something. Gee, I wonder what it'll be.
If you really look at it, look at the numbers, and I look at the numbers, we will actually increase the deficit over the next 10 years, going from right now $37 trillion in debt. CBO says we'll be at 59. My guess is we'd probably increase that by about $4 trillion with the big new deal, or the big beautiful bill. That puts us at $62 to $63 trillion. Again, you have to be honest. And by the way, I know Buck at the end of the show, or I think he might have asked me this last time, well, what are you going to cut? It's impossible to say, Medicaid, absolutely have to go after that. But what you need is a process.
Medicaid, obviously. You got to cut Medicaid. Absolutely. Cut it. Just cut Medicaid. Who needs Medicaid? Except for the people who need Medicaid. But if you don't count them, you're good to go. The problem is that this tends to not be very popular. So what you're going to want to do, GOP, is you're going to want to make changes, but not tell anybody about them, and do it behind closed doors, and then kind of try to push this whole thing forward in the middle of the night. Actually, I should be a strategist for the Republican Party. Let's cut to the clip.
And after move this bill forward, I'm excited about the changes we've made, and I will vote present.
What are the changes?
Mr. Norman, present.
Wait, what changes?
Mr. McClintock.
Shh. No. You're not supposed to mention that we made changes. You're not supposed to say the quiet part out loud, sir. Rookie move. And as a palate cleanser, here is Representative McGovern. He is a politician whose last name is McGovern, which reminds me I have a root canal later this week from my dentist, Dr. McTeeth. I'm sorry. Anyway, here is Representative McGovern calling out the obvious shadiness of trying to pass through a bill in the dead of night.
What I do want to talk about is the fact that this morning, after midnight actually, Republicans told us that we would be considering their budget reconciliation bill at 1 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. If Trump's big, beautiful bill is so great, why not debate it when people are still awake? Wouldn't you want everyone to know how great it is? Why are you debating it at 1 o'clock in the morning? I think that's prime time in Guam. Any person with half a brain cell can immediately figure out why you want to notice a meeting for 1 a.m. It's because you don't want people to know what's in your bill.
Yeah, that all sounds bad. Side note, Big Beautiful Bill used to be one of my favorite genres on Cornhub. Anyway, to summarize, so this bill will increase the deficit by about $4.6 trillion over the next 10 years. And the cuts that they're making to Medicaid could potentially cause millions of human beings who are actually considered more valuable than money in a lot of cultures to losing their health care over the next 10 years. But listen, you got to break a few omelets to be able to afford eggs. You know what I mean? And when God closes one emergency room door, he opens a tax loophole for wealthy people. And if you're wondering who it is that they modeled all of these changes after, like what state they looked at and said, you guys are crushing it, let's do that. For that answer, here's AOC.
And requirements and many of the ways that they are designing these changes to Medicaid are based on changes in Georgia. Georgia has the third highest number of uninsured Americans in the country. Catastrophic. And so the Republican majority has looked at the state with the third highest number of uninsured Americans and said, that's what we want to model our Medicaid system after. This catastrophic failure.
Great news, sir. We found the perfect system to use as a model for our new planet protector. It's called the Death Star. But wait, there's more. AOC is just getting started, and so I think it's time for all of us collectively as Americans to, in more ways than one, let her cook.
And I understand that the Republican majority wants the American public to be sold into accepting this by saying, you know what? We are secretly paying for Medicaid for every Venezuelan in the world, and that there are millions of 8-year-olds getting sex reassignment surgeries on Medicaid dime, and if we just take all of that, that will somehow make your Medicaid, cut that and make your Medicaid better. Sounds ridiculous because it is. What Republicans are saying is that if we make all of these cuts, we will then shift that and invest it into Medicaid for people who actually deserve it. But if that were true, then the top line number, our budget for Medicaid, would be staying the same, right? We'd be taking from undeserving people and giving it to deserving people, and that should even out. But that's not what's happening in this bill. This bill is cutting nearly $1 trillion in Medicaid spending overall. Why? Because down the hallway, they are trying to finance tax cuts for people who are inheriting $22 million houses.
I like how AOC shows how you can easily depotentiate fear-mongering just by, kind of making fun of it. Anyway, yeah, all of this, clever and covert trying to cut Medicaid so you can push forward a bill in the dead of night that's going to add trillions of dollars to the deficit and harm the working class while making rich people richer and not rich people not richer. This is just the bread and butter of the GOP, man. I think the only difference between the Trump administration and what it's always been is just the brazenness with which they do it now. It's yo, we can see you. You just said it. You said it with your own words. And these politicians are theoretically human beings who ostensibly should care about other human beings, but instead the whole thing just becomes another example of the Trump administration fleecing the working class and then telling that same working class that the people they should actually be blaming is insert scapegoat here. And stupid Death Star jokes aside, these decisions do actually impact people, on a material level. And when those people can't get health care, or all of a sudden it's really difficult to get health care, this creates problems down the road that same political party will then use as justification for further fleecing the working class and making more cuts to an already threadbare social safety net. It would be like if we tried some kind of a coup in Venezuela, put some kind of a sanction on their largest export, and then when people fled Venezuela and got to the border, our government being we're all trying to find the guy who did this. You know what I mean? Thankfully, and I mean this sardonically, we have Caroline Leavitt, who will Jedi mind trick all of us into thinking that this bill is actually really great. And also, how dare us, or you, or her, or anyone. She should really meditate, I think. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. I said a lot of numbers, and I'm sorry if I threw that at you, but they're not real. At least that's what I've heard. I think that's actually chapter 2 of Project 2025. They're going to get rid of numbers. Anyway, bye guys.